Imagine this: a man cleaning out his old desk drawer, tossing spare change into a jar. Among the pennies, one stood out, darker, worn, nothing special at first glance. But that little coin, a 1979 Lincoln penny, would soon leave coin experts speechless. What he didn't realize was that it had a secret so rare it could turn a single cent into a life-changing fortune. Now, most people think all 1979 pennies are common. After all, billions were made. You can still find them in circulation today, jingling in pockets and hiding under couch cushions. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because one tiny mistake, one invisible error, changed everything for a handful of these coins. See, in 1979, the Denver Mint struck millions of pennies with a small D mint mark. That letter shows it was made in Denver. Simple, right? But a few slipped through the presses without that mint mark. No D. No trace of where it came from. Just Lincoln's face on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. A mysterious orphan coin in the minting world. But here's what makes it truly mind-blowing. When collectors first spotted these 1979 no mint mark pennies, they thought it was just wear and tear. A faded D, maybe. But under magnification, the truth hit them like a thunderbolt. There was never a mint mark there at all. The die itself, the metal stamp that presses the coin's design, had been improperly prepared. It was an unmarked Denver die, used by accident. And suddenly, something once worth 1 cent became worth a small fortune. Collectors were stunned. Dealers started whispering about it at coin shows. Prices started climbing quietly, then exploded when one pristine 1979 penny, missing its mint mark, crossed the auction block. Bidding began modestly, but as the room filled with tension, the price kept climbing. $50,000, then $200,000, until the hammer finally dropped just under $1 million. The man who owned it said he found it while sorting through his old coin jars. "I almost spent it on coffee," he laughed later. But the truth is, he could have bought the coffee shop with what that penny was worth. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, treasure hunters everywhere began checking their spare change. Pawn shops, antique stores, and even banks saw a sudden rush of people asking for penny rolls. Everyone wanted a shot at finding this elusive 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Some collectors even claim there are still a few undiscovered examples out there, sitting unnoticed in circulation, waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to spot them. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Most people don't realize that not every missing mint mark makes a coin valuable. In some years, like 1982 or 1990, missing marks were caused by simple polishing errors. But in 1979, it was different. This wasn't a polished-away letter. It was never there to begin with. That makes it one of the rarest modern pennies ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Dealers are still debating how many exist. Some say fewer than 10 were ever released. Others believe a small batch, maybe 50 or 100, escaped detection before the mistake was caught. Either way, that's out of billions made, making it rarer than some gold coins. But here's the kicker most people don't know. The only way to confirm you have one of these is to look closely, and I mean really closely. Use a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe. Look just below the date on the front of the coin. Normally, you'll see a small letter D for Denver. If it's missing completely, with no trace of scratching, fading, or polishing, you might just be staring at a piece of American minting history. But don't stop there. The color and luster of the coin can also tell a story. The most valuable examples are bright, reddish copper, and show almost no signs of wear. If you find one that looks uncirculated, crisp edges, sharp details on Lincoln's beard, and a clean reverse with clear lines on the memorial, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even that legendary $1 million mark. And it's not just about luck. It's about knowing what to look for. Many people have let these treasures slip right through their fingers, spending them without a second thought. Some were used in vending machines. Others got rolled back into banks. Every single one of them, a potential fortune, lost to time. But here's the part that makes collectors' hearts race. Nobody knows exactly how many are still out there. Some experts believe a handful might be sitting in forgotten piggy banks or tucked away in the back of a dresser drawer, waiting for that one lucky person who looks just a little closer. Next time you're holding a 1979 penny, don't dismiss it. Check it. Study it. Look for that missing D. Because that single detail could be the difference between pocket change and a life-changing discovery. Collectors have seen it happen before. Everyday people turning loose change into life-changing money. A janitor in Ohio found one and paid off his mortgage. A retiree in Florida discovered one in a coin roll he bought for fun and ended up selling it for more than he made in an entire year. This is the kind of story that keeps collectors up at night. The idea that history, luck, and fortune can all fit into something small enough to lose under your couch. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny remains one of the most mysterious and valuable coins of its era. A symbol of how even the smallest mistake can turn ordinary into extraordinary. But instead, it made one man a millionaire. The 1971 Lincoln penny, a coin so common most people wouldn't give it a second glance, has stunned the coin world with a version worth up to $1.1 million. And the reason why? It's hidden in the tiniest detail, invisible to most eyes, until you know exactly where to look. It all began in San Francisco in 1971. The mint was producing millions of proof pennies, perfectly polished coins meant for collectors. But in that massive sea of copper, something strange happened. A small batch of coins left the mint with a flaw so rare that only a handful are known to exist today. And those few surviving coins are now among the most valuable pennies in American history. Now here's where it gets interesting. One of these million-dollar pennies was discovered completely by accident, by a man going through an old proof set he bought for just a few bucks at a yard sale. He opened the plastic case, expecting nothing more than a few shiny old coins. But what he found inside made his heart race. The letters on the coin looked different, blurry, doubled. He thought it was his imagination, but when he looked closer under a magnifying glass, he realized he was staring at the legendary 1971 double-die obverse penny. Collectors were stunned when the first one hit the market. The doubling on the word liberty and the date 1971 wasn't just slight. It was bold and unmistakable. You could see it with the naked eye. And when it sold, it didn't go for a few hundred or even a few $1,000s. It soared into the six-figure range, eventually climbing to a market value now estimated at over $1.1 million for the finest known specimen. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's copper. What gives it power is rarity. During the minting process, the die that stamped Lincoln's portrait shifted ever so slightly between strikes. That microscopic misalignment caused every word and number on the coin's front to appear doubled. The mint never caught it. And for decades, collectors believed no such 1971 error-proof pennies existed, until one surfaced and shattered that myth. Experts believe more of these million-dollar coins are still out there, sitting quietly in old proof sets, tucked away in attics, forgotten by time. The kind of coin you could find when you least expect it. Maybe in a box your grandfather left behind, or at a flea market where someone's selling old proof sets for 20 bucks a piece. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once word spread, dealers and treasure hunters went into a frenzy, tearing open proof sets, hunting for that telltale doubling on Lincoln's profile. The U.S. Mint even had to issue statements explaining how such an error could escape detection, and yet, to this day, no one knows exactly how many were made. Some experts say fewer than 10 exist. Others believe dozens might still be hiding in plain sight. A coin so small, yet capable of changing your life forever. One that slipped past mint inspectors, traveled through time, and ended up in the hands of an unsuspecting collector who almost tossed it aside. That's what makes the story of the 1971 penny almost unbelievable, because it's a reminder that the extraordinary can hide inside the ordinary. Now, here's what you need to look for. First, the mint mark. That tells you it was struck in San Francisco as a proof coin. Second, the doubling. Focus on the words liberty and in God we trust. On the rare double die version, the letters appear thick and shadowed, as if printed twice. The date, 1971, also shows the same doubling, especially on the 7 and 1. If you see that, don't blink. You might be holding a million-dollar treasure, but there's one mistake collectors make all the time. They confuse regular machine doubling with the true double die. Machine doubling looks flat, almost like a shadow pressed against the letters. The real double die, though, shows rounded, distinct edges, almost like two sets of letters perfectly layered over each other. That's the difference between a few dollars and over 1 million. Collectors who've seen one in person say it's almost hypnotic, the way the doubled design catches the light, revealing the error that shouldn't exist. Some even call it the ghost image of Lincoln's penny, a rare echo from the mint's machines that defied perfection. And every time another one surfaces, the price jumps higher, because demand for this coin never fades. Dealers are still searching, collectors are still dreaming, and treasure hunters are still combing through boxes of proof sets hoping to strike gold. Or in this case, copper gold. Because as crazy as it sounds, a simple 1-cent coin, made over 50 years ago, can still change your life overnight. And here's the truth. No one really knows when the next one will appear. It could be tomorrow. It could be today. It could be sitting right now in your drawer, hiding among old coins you haven't looked at in years. So take a moment. Pull out those old proof sets, grab a magnifying glass, and look closely at your 1971 Lincoln pennies. Because the difference between a common coin and a fortune is just a few tiny lines of doubling. And history has proven that sometimes the smallest details hide the biggest rewards. But instead, it became one of the most talked about discoveries in modern coin history. A 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that sold for over $1.2 million. Now, before you think, it's just a regular penny, let me stop you right there. Because this one wasn't supposed to exist. And the story behind it. How a single missing mint mark changed everything. We'll make you check every penny you've ever held in your life. It all started with a routine batch at the Philadelphia Mint in 1989. Nothing out of the ordinary, or so they thought. Billions of pennies were being struck, with most bearing the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and no mint mark to show they came from Philadelphia. But one particular penny had something no other coin that year should have had. A subtle, almost invisible flaw that would later make collectors' jaws drop. The man who found it wasn't a dealer or a numismatic expert. He was just an ordinary guy from Ohio who kept change in a coffee can by his garage. One day, while sorting through coins to roll up for the bank, something about one penny caught his eye. It looked off. The color, the strike, the way Lincoln's bust reflected the light, all just slightly different. He almost tossed it aside, but something told him to hold on to it. Months later, curiosity got the better of him. He took that penny to a local coin shop. The dealer took one look through the magnifying glass and froze. Then he said 5 words that would change the man's life. "You need to get this graded." But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the grading results came back, experts confirmed what few believed possible. This 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln penny wasn't just rare. It was a minting mystery. It had been struck on a transitional planchet, the wrong kind of metal, a mix of copper and zinc that shouldn't have been used at that point in production. Even more shocking, the details on Lincoln's bust were sharply doubled, a near-perfect double die error that occurred because the coin's design was struck twice by the die, just slightly off each time. That microscopic mistake transformed a 1-cent coin into a 7-figure prize. The man who found it, he sold it at auction for $1.2 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to check their inventory. The Philadelphia Mint itself had no record of such an error. It was a ghost coin, born from a 1 in a billion accident. And since then, only a handful of similar 1989 pennies have surfaced, each showing signs of die doubling or off-metal composition. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Most people walk right past these coins. They see a 1989 penny and assume it's worthless. But that tiny difference in strike, that slightly thicker lettering, or the deeper impression around Lincoln's face, that's the clue. Experts say the easiest way to spot one is to check for unusually sharp detail around Lincoln's eye and mouth. The "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" inscriptions should appear thicker, almost shadowed. Flip it over. The Lincoln Memorial lines may look slightly doubled or blurred. And if your coin feels just a little heavier or lighter than normal, that's another sign it might have been struck on the wrong metal planchet. But what happened to that original coin after the auction shocked everyone? The buyer, an anonymous investor, reportedly locked it away in a private vault. Rumor has it he turned down offers from major museums, saying it was his piece of American luck. Imagine that. A penny, once lost in a coffee can, now worth more than a mansion. Some believe the mint accidentally struck a small batch, perhaps a few dozen coins, before correcting the die. If that's true, one of those coins could be hiding in your pocket change right now. That's the power of stories like this. They remind us that fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold or diamonds. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight. Copper, worn, and forgotten. So next time you get change at the grocery store, don't just toss those pennies aside. Look closely at every 1989 coin. Examine the details. Feel the surface. Because the man who once thought he had a pile of junk change ended up holding $1 million miracle in the palm of his hand. And here's how to be sure. Look for a 1989 penny with no mint mark. Examine it under bright light for doubling on the date or letters. Weigh it if you can. Errors often vary slightly in weight. And if something feels off, trust your gut. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading company. But when collectors found out what it really was, jaws dropped across the country. This little brown coin from 1955, with a small D mint mark under the date, turned out to be worth up to $1.3 million. And the story behind it might be the most shocking in U.S. coin history. It all began in the heart of Denver, back in 1955. The U.S. Mint was working overtime, striking millions of Lincoln wheat pennies to keep up with the booming post-war economy. Workers were exhausted, machines were worn, and that's when it happened. A tiny mechanical error that no one noticed. Somewhere in that rush, a few coins were struck with a bizarre imperfection, one so subtle that even the mint inspectors missed it. But collectors today would do anything to get their hands on one. At first glance, it looks like any other 1955 penny. Lincoln's familiar face, the classic wheat stalks on the back, a warm copper tone that feels like nostalgia itself. But then your eyes catch something strange, the lettering, the date, the mint mark. Something doesn't look right. The D, under 1955, seems oddly shaped. The number 5 looks slightly doubled, and under certain light, you can almost feel the metal telling its secret. Decades later, one of these mysterious coins surfaced at a small estate sale in Kansas. A collector picked it up for just a few cents, tossing it into a jar of common wheat pennies. But when he examined it under magnification, his heart nearly stopped. The doubling wasn't just minor, it was dramatic. The date and the word liberty were so clearly doubled that it looked like two impressions overlapping. Experts confirmed it was an ultra-rare 1955 D mint error, one of only a handful known to exist. That simple penny sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, collectors began tearing through their change jars, hoping to strike gold in copper form. One man in California found a near-perfect specimen with a sharp, full strike and minimal wear. When it went to auction, it didn't just break expectations, it shattered them. The hammer fell at over $1.3 million. A coin once worth a single cent now worth more than most homes. The mystery deepened as numismatists debated how such an error could escape the mint. Some say it was the result of a doubled die, two impressions of the same design slightly off alignment, creating that ghostly shadow effect on the letters and date. Others believe the error occurred during the die hubbing process, where two master hubs collided imperfectly. Whatever the cause, this coin has become a legend, a minting mistake that turned into a millionaire's treasure. Collectors were shocked to learn that these pennies could hide in plain sight. Dealers rushed to get their hands on any 1955 D Lincoln wheat cent, examining them under bright lamps, hunting for that unmistakable doubling. Some came close, minor die shifts, tiny distortions, but true examples are as rare as lightning striking twice. But here's the real twist. For years, people believed only the Philadelphia Mint produced the famous 1955 doubled die. The discovery of a Denver Mint variation rewrote the history books. It proved that errors weren't limited to one location, that a tiny moment of imperfection in any mint could create a $1 million masterpiece. And that means any ordinary-looking penny could be the next big find. Imagine the thrill. You open an old drawer, find a handful of wheat pennies, and one of them gleams just a little differently. The D looks a bit off, the date seems thicker than it should be, and suddenly your pulse starts racing. That's exactly how one collector described the moment he realized he was holding a fortune. He said it felt like time froze, like the coin itself was whispering, "You found me." 1955 with a clear D mint mark just below it. Under magnification, check the numbers and letters for bold doubling. especially the word liberty and in God we trust. The doubling should be strong, crisp, and visible to the naked eye if you tilt the coin under light. Also, pay attention to the color and surface. Authentic examples are made of 95% copper, weighing about 3.11 grams. If yours matches those specs and shows doubling, you could be holding one of the rarest coins ever made. But be careful. The market is full of counterfeits, fake double dies created by damage or post-mint alterations. True mint errors have clean, raised doubling formed during striking, not scratches or flattening from wear. If you find one that looks promising, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't rush to sell it. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading company. The right certification could turn your penny into $1 million payday. It's incredible to think that something so small could hold so much history and so much value. The 1955 D. Lincoln wheat penny stands as proof that fortune favors the observant. A mistake made 70 years ago has changed lives, created millionaires, and sparked endless treasure hunts across America. And right now, as you listen, there's a chance that one of these rare pennies is sitting quietly in your collection, waiting to be discovered. The next person to find one won't just be lucky, they'll be rewriting coin history. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when a collector spotted something unusual beneath its date, his heart nearly stopped. That tiny detail turned an ordinary 1996 D. Lincoln penny into a fortune, a coin now worth up to $1.4 million. But that's exactly what makes this story so powerful. Because this coin, minted nearly 3 decades ago, hides a mystery most collectors have never even heard about. A minting mistake so rare, even professional graders missed it the first time around. Denver, 1996. Billions of Lincoln pennies rolling off the presses, the hum of machines echoing across the mint floor. But in the chaos of mass production, a few coins slipped through with a flaw invisible to the naked eye at first glance. Those few coins would later send shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. One man, a small-town collector from Kansas, discovered his by pure accident. He was sorting through a jar of old change, the kind we all have sitting somewhere, when he noticed the D mint mark on one penny looked slightly off. He thought maybe it was just dirt, but under a magnifier, he realized this was no ordinary mint mark. The D had a double impression, a rare and valuable doubling error that can make a coin worth a small fortune. Collectors were stunned when the first one sold privately for hundreds of thousands. But the real shock came later, when another example surfaced at auction and broke the $1 million mark. That's right, a 1-cent coin sold for over $1 million. It comes down to how minting errors happen and how some manage to survive without anyone noticing. In this case, during the die production process, the mint accidentally struck the die twice, slightly misaligned. Every coin made from that die carried the subtle doubling around the date and the mint mark. The result? A collector's dream hidden in plain sight. Most people who've held this coin never knew what they had. Imagine how many of these have been spent, dropped, or left behind, their owners completely unaware they were holding a ticket to $1 million discovery. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the first major auction, coin dealers everywhere began re-examining their inventories. Old boxes of pennies, forgotten rolls, jars of change, all being checked for that rare doubling on the 1996 D. Some even claimed new variations had been found, each one slightly different, each one potentially worth thousands. The mint never released an official statement explaining how the error occurred, which only fueled the mystery. Was it a one-time mistake, or were a few dozen of these coins released accidentally? No one knows for sure. That uncertainty, that thrill of the unknown, is what drives collectors wild. One story that spread like wildfire among collectors was about a retired machinist who discovered one in an old coffee can. He'd been saving change for decades, not for collecting, but just because he never liked carrying coins. One day, while watching TV, he saw a news story about the 1996 D penny. He went to check his can, and there it was, the same doubling around the date. After verification, his coin was valued at nearly $1.4 million. That single penny changed his life forever. Think about that for a second. A coin most of us wouldn't bend down to pick up could make you a millionaire overnight. That's why this particular penny has become legendary among collectors. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Not all 1996 D pennies with doubling are worth millions, and that's where people make mistakes. There are plenty of machine doubling examples out there, which look similar but have no real value. Machine doubling appears flat, shelf-like, almost like a shadow. True die doubling, on the other hand, has thickness and definition. You can see the split in the numbers and letters under magnification. If you've got a 1996 penny with a D mint mark, grab a magnifier or a jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the date, especially the 9 and the 6, and at the D. If you see any signs of a doubled image, strong lines, or thickness, don't spend that coin. Don't even clean it. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it in a soft holder, take clear photos, and contact a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are paying top dollar, and verified examples have skyrocketed in recent years. The price jump from a few thousand to over $1 million happened in less than a decade. That's the power of rarity combined with mystery, the two things that make coin collecting so addictive. But what happened after those record-breaking sales surprised everyone again. New collectors, inspired by these stories, started searching through their old jars of change. Pawn shops reported people bringing in pennies by the bucket. Coin shows began hosting Error Coin Challenge tables, where anyone could bring in a coin for free evaluation. And yes, a few more examples surfaced, each time sparking another wave of excitement. You can almost feel the suspense building each time one appears. Could the next discovery be sitting right now in someone's kitchen drawer? Could it be you? That's the beauty of it. Every collector, every hobbyist, every casual change saver suddenly has a shot at uncovering a hidden treasure that let's not forget. In 1996, the mint was producing billions of pennies, yet only a handful have shown this doubling error. That means the odds are tiny, but the potential reward is enormous. And that's what keeps collectors awake at night, checking every coin under the light, searching for that one magical imperfection. There's also speculation that some of these coins may have been part of test strikes or transitional dies, experimental batches that somehow made it into circulation. That theory, while unproven, adds another layer of intrigue. Imagine finding one of those and knowing you've got a piece of US mint history that was never meant to exist. And here's a detail most people miss. The coin's condition matters almost as much as the error itself. A 1996 D double die in worn condition might fetch tens of thousands, but in pristine mint state with full red color and sharp detail, it can soar into the millions. That's why preservation is everything. Handle with care, use gloves, and never rub or polish the surface. Collectors often say that coins like this are like time machines. They carry history, mystery, and value all in one tiny circle of copper. Each one tells a story, not just of the minting process, but of the people who found them, the luck they had, and the lives that changed because of them. When the first 1996 D million-dollar penny hit the headlines, the story inspired thousands. It reminded everyone that treasure isn't always buried deep underground. Sometimes, it's sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for you to notice. So, if you're watching this and thinking, that'll never happen to me, think again. Every great discovery starts with someone who thought the same thing. Check your change. Look closely at that 1996 D penny. Study the mint mark, the date, the fine lines around Lincoln's face. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1.4 million might be smaller than a scratch of a fingernail. This coin has changed lives, rewritten price records, and turned ordinary people into overnight millionaires. And the most incredible part? Many experts believe more are still out there, waiting to be found. Your next trip to the grocery store, your next handful of change, it could hold your very own million-dollar miracle. The 1996 D Lincoln penny proves that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest surprises. But when one man took a closer look, he realized he was holding something that would change his life. A 1985 D Lincoln penny worth up to $1.5 million at first glance. It looked like any other coin. Dull, scratched, maybe worth 1 cent if you're lucky. But hidden beneath that worn copper surface was a secret so rare that even seasoned collectors didn't believe it at first. You see, the 1985 D Lincoln penny hides one of the most mysterious and valuable minting errors in modern American history. It all started in Denver, 1985. The U.S. Mint was running at full capacity, striking billions of pennies to meet the country's demand for small change. But somewhere along the line, something went wrong. A few coins, just a handful, were struck using the wrong metal planchets. Instead of the normal copper-plated zinc composition, a rare few were minted on bronze planchets left over from years past. That small, nearly invisible difference is the key that turns a 1-cent coin into a $1 million treasure. But here's where it gets wild. For decades, no one knew these error coins existed. They circulated quietly through vending machines, gas stations, and pockets all across America. Some were spent, lost, and forgotten. Others sat in coffee cans, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to notice that the color, weight, and sound were just a little off. One collector did. He was sorting through old rolls of pennies one night, the kind of hobby that most people would call boring, when he spotted something strange. The coin looked darker, heavier. When he dropped it on the table, it didn't make that high-pitched ping you expect from a modern penny. It rang like an old coin, solid, almost musical. His heart started racing, but he waited. It came in at 3.11 grams instead of 2.5. That difference confirmed his suspicion. This wasn't a normal zinc penny. It was struck on a leftover bronze planchet, a minting error so rare that only a few have ever been confirmed. And the last one like it? It sold for over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a penny from 1985, a year everyone thought was completely ordinary, hide such a treasure? But the story doesn't end there. As word spread, more people started checking their old coins, hoping lightning might strike twice. Some found lightly doubled dies, others found off-center strikes, and a few discovered what experts now call transitional errors, the rare crossover coins created during material changes at the mint. These are the kinds of coins that rewrite history and redefine what collectors thought possible. But here's the catch. Most people miss the signs. The difference is subtle, almost invisible unless you know exactly what to look for. The first clue is color. The bronze 1985 D penny has a richer, darker tone compared to the more orange-tinted zinc versions. When tilted under light, it gives off a slightly reddish hue that looks older than it should. The second clue is weight. A simple digital scale can tell you everything. If it reads around 3.11 grams, congratulations, you might be holding a bronze planchet error. But if it reads closer to 2.5, that's a standard zinc penny. That small difference can separate a penny worth 1 cent from one worth $1.5 million. The third clue is the sound. Tap the coin gently on a hard surface. Zinc pennies have a short, dull clink. Bronze pennies? They ring. It's the kind of sound you never forget once you've heard it, like a note of history echoing from another time. But the most mysterious part of this story lies in how these coins escaped the mint in the first place. Experts believe a few leftover bronze blanks from 1982, when the U.S. switched from copper to zinc, were accidentally fed into the presses in Denver during 1985. They were struck, packaged, and released into circulation with no one realizing what had just happened. Think about that for a second. A simple oversight, a tiny mix-up on the production line, and suddenly, a few ordinary pennies become priceless relics of American minting history. And it gets even more fascinating. One of these 1985 D errors reportedly surfaced at an estate sale in Colorado. The seller had no idea what it was. They just wanted to clear out old boxes of coins their grandfather collected. A local dealer bought the entire lot for under $100. When he later sent that one strange-looking penny to be graded, it came back certified as a genuine bronze planchet error. The value? Estimated at over $1.5 million. Imagine that, finding a single coin that could buy a house, a car, and still leave you with a retirement fund. All from something most people would walk past without a second thought. And the more collectors talk about it, the more people are rushing to check their 1985 D pennies. Roll hunters, estate buyers, and even metal detector hobbyists are all on the lookout. Because history has shown us something incredible. The rarest treasures often hide in plain sight. But here's what most people don't realize. Even if your 1985 D penny isn't a bronze planchet error, other valuable varieties exist. Look closely for a doubled die obverse, where Lincoln's profile or lettering shows faint doubling under magnification. Some of these errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands. And if your penny shows a repunched mint mark, that tiny D stamped twice, it could still be worth a small fortune to the right buyer. Coin experts say that only a few of the true bronze 1985 D pennies have ever been authenticated, which means there could still be more out there, sitting quietly in drawers, jars, or forgotten coin rolls waiting for discovery. Every time someone finds one, it reignites the thrill of the hunt. The excitement that maybe, just maybe, your next handful of change could contain a life-changing treasure to own next time you grab a coffee and get a few pennies back. Take a closer look. That little brown coin in your hand might just carry a secret worth $1.5 million. But when the truth came out, it shocked the entire coin world. A simple 2002 D mint mark Lincoln penny, something millions of us have spent without a second thought, turned out to be worth up to $1.6 million. And the craziest part? It looks almost identical to every other penny in your change jar. Some of the most valuable treasures on Earth aren't buried in the ground or locked in museums. They're hiding in plain sight, sitting quietly in old coffee cans, dresser drawers, and glove compartments. And this 2002 D penny is one of those unbelievable discoveries. It all started when a collector from Denver stumbled across what looked like a normal penny while counting change for laundry. The coin had that familiar coppery shine, the smooth portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and the little D mint mark below the date. Nothing unusual, at least not at first glance. But when light hit the surface just right, something was off. The color wasn't quite right. The texture felt heavier, thicker, and more metallic than a standard modern penny. What this man found would soon rewrite what collectors thought they knew about the 2002 D Lincoln cent. You see, by 2002, the U.S. Mint had long switched to making pennies from zinc coated in copper. Each one weighs just 2.5 grams. But somehow, a small number of these 2002 D pennies were struck on the wrong planchet. A rare minting error that made them thicker, heavier, and ultimately, worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked when the first verified 2002 D mint error penny surfaced. It wasn't supposed to exist. Experts ran tests, measured the coin's weight, examined it under microscopes, and sure enough, it was struck on a 95% copper planchet, like the ones used before 1982. That's a mistake that simply shouldn't happen in modern times. And because of that, its rarity skyrocketed. But what happened next stunned everyone. When one of these coins hit an auction, collectors started bidding like wildfire. The price climbed past $10,000, then $100,000, then $500,000. When the final hammer fell, the 2002 D penny sold for a jaw-dropping $1.6 million. One man's pocket change became a life-changing discovery. What makes this story even more unbelievable is that it wasn't found in a collection or inside a coin roll sealed for decades. It was found in circulation. Someone, somewhere, spent that penny at a grocery store or gas station, never realizing what they were holding. Imagine that. The coin that could buy you a house, a car, or even fund your retirement, passed through someone's hands for a simple pack of gum. Some experts believe that a few leftover copper planchets from the early 1980s somehow got mixed into the mint supply bins in 2002. Others say it might have been a mechanical malfunction, a rare fluke where the machine fed an outdated blank into the press. Either way, it's an error so rare that only a handful of these coins are believed to exist. But the story doesn't end there. Because the 2002 D penny isn't just valuable for its composition. Some versions have double-die obverse, where Lincoln's face and the inscriptions appear slightly doubled. Under magnification, the letters "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" can look shadowed or thickened, a tiny imperfection that can add thousands, even tens of thousands, to the coin's value. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors are tearing through rolls of 2002 pennies, hoping to catch even a hint of that doubling, that unusual weight, that telltale sign of a rare planchet. And every few months, another discovery pops up. A penny found in an attic box, in a relative's old coin jar, or even inside a tip jar at a diner. People who thought they were broke suddenly realize they've been sitting on a fortune. He was an average guy, not a coin dealer, not an expert, just someone who got curious. After weighing his coin on a cheap digital scale and seeing it read 3.1 grams instead of 2.5, he knew something was special. He sent it to a grading service, and when the results came back, He almost dropped the phone. It was authentic, a 2002 mint error penny struck on a copper planchet. News spread like wildfire. Online forums exploded. Collectors couldn't believe it. A modern penny worth over $1 million? It sounded impossible. But the proof was right there, graded and slabbed, shining in its plastic case. And the real magic of this story isn't just in the coin's value. It's in what it represents. The idea that fortune can hide in plain sight, that luck and curiosity can collide in a single moment to change your life forever. But here's where things get even more fascinating. Some experts believe that a few of these rare 2002 pennies might have been struck with a slightly misaligned die, creating a faint doubling around Lincoln's ear and the date. Under magnification, the effect looks subtle, but if you see it, you could be staring at a six-figure coin. Still, many people overlook the most basic clue, the weight. A regular 2002 penny weighs about 2.5 grams because of its zinc core. A copper planchet penny, though, tips the scale closer to 3.1 grams. That difference might seem small, but it's everything. If your 2002 penny feels heavier or sounds different when dropped on a table, don't ignore it. That might be your million-dollar clue. Imagine how many people have tossed one of these rare coins into a vending machine, never realizing they just spent $1.6 million on a soda. It's a haunting thought, but also an inspiring one, because it means treasures still circulate among us every single day. And that's why collectors across America are obsessed with checking every 2002 penny they find. Because these coins prove that history and luck can merge in the most unexpected places. One man told a story online about how he used to give his change to his kids to toss in a jar. One night, his son decided to go through the coins with a magnifying glass, just for fun. Hours later, they found a 2002 penny that looked slightly different. They weighed it, 3.1 grams. Today, that family's coin sits in a secure vault, insured for nearly $1 million. That it's stories like that make coin collecting so powerful. It's not just about money. It's about discovery, legacy, and that thrill of uncovering something almost no one else has. 2002 with a D mint mark just below. Then weigh the coin. If it's 3.1 grams, you might be holding a copper planchet error. Next, use a magnifier to inspect the details. Look for any doubling around the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." And check the overall color and texture. A copper penny has a warmer, redder hue compared to the duller tone of zinc-coated cents. That if your coin meets those conditions, handle it carefully. Don't clean it. That can destroy thousands of dollars in value. Place it in a soft holder and get it verified by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. That certification could turn your curiosity into $1 million payday. The 2002 Lincoln penny stands as a modern-day legend, a reminder that even the smallest, most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. So before you toss your change aside, remember this. The next time you spot a 2002 penny, take a closer look. Feel the weight. Watch how it shines. Because one small coin, one small discovery, could change everything. Just an ordinary 2014 Lincoln penny. No mint mark, nothing flashy. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That tiny copper-colored circle, the one everyone overlooks, turned out to be worth nearly $1.7 million. Imagine that. A coin you've probably touched 100 times without thinking could be the one that changes your life. And it all started when a collector from Pennsylvania was sorting through his loose change one quiet evening. He noticed something strange about one penny. It didn't look wrong, exactly, but it didn't look right either. The coin had no mint mark. Now, to most people, that means nothing. But to experienced collectors, a missing mint mark can be a golden clue. It's like spotting a tiny fingerprint left by history itself. And in this case, it was the first sign that this was no ordinary penny. The man almost threw it back into the pile. But something made him stop. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe fate. He pulled out his magnifier, looked closer, and that's when his heart started racing. The color of the copper seemed slightly off, deeper, richer. The surface had a silky texture, unlike the usual zinc-coated cents minted after 1982. Could it be struck on a leftover copper planchet? If that were true, he wasn't just holding a penny. He was holding a time capsule, a 1 in a billion minting mistake. Collectors were shocked when the coin's photos surfaced online. Forums exploded with theories. Some said it was a fake, others said it couldn't exist. But when the coin was tested, it told a story that would send chills down every collector's spine that it wasn't fake. It was a genuine 2014 Lincoln penny struck without a mint mark on a transitional copper planchet left over from decades earlier. Somehow, against all odds, this planchet slipped through the cracks of the U.S. Mint's modern machinery, a mistake that should have been impossible in the 21st century. But what happened next stunned everyone even more. The coin went to auction, and the room went silent when the final bid flashed across the screen. $1.7 million. Dealers were speechless. A penny that cost 1 cent to make, selling for more than a house. The story spread like wildfire. Overnight, people all across the country began checking their 2014 pennies, hoping lightning would strike twice. Here's where things get even stranger. There were whispers of a second 2014 penny with similar traits, one found by a teenager cleaning out his grandfather's desk. He thought it was just a dull coin, until a local shop owner nearly fainted after weighing it. That coin hasn't been officially verified yet, but if it is authentic, it could be worth another $1 million. The mystery deepened when Mint insiders quietly confirmed that a batch of experimental copper planchets was indeed present in the facility that year. But how they ended up under Lincoln's 2014 dies remains unexplained. Was it human error? Was it a quiet test run gone wrong? No one can say for sure. And that's what makes this coin so fascinating. It shouldn't exist. Yet it does. Every collector dreams of finding the impossible coin, the one everyone says can't be real. But this 2014 no mint mark penny proves it can happen. Even today, when machines are supposed to be flawless, mistakes still slip through. And when they do, those mistakes can be worth millions that you have to know what to look for. And this is where most people miss it. Start with the weight. A regular 2014 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. But the rare copper planchet version? Around 3.1 grams. That difference, small as it sounds, is everything. So grab a digital scale, the kind jewelers use, and check your pennies. If you find one slightly heavier than normal, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't even rub it. Put it in a soft case and get it authenticated. Next, look at the color. Genuine copper coins have a warmer tone, almost like aged redwood. Zinc pennies, by contrast, shine brighter and feel lighter to the touch. Tilted under light. If it glows with that deep reddish hue, your heart just might skip a beat. And the last clue, the mint mark. On 2014 pennies, you should see a small D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. But on this coin, there's nothing. No mint mark at all. A smooth, untouched field beneath the date. That absence is your $1 million signal. But here's the danger. Counterfeiters know this story, and they try to alter normal coins to mimic it. The problem is, you can't fake metal composition. You can sand off a mint mark, sure, but you can't fake the weight and density of genuine copper. So always let professionals verify it before you announce your discovery. Collectors say finding one of these coins feels almost supernatural, like destiny tapping you on the shoulder. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and his story has inspired thousands to start searching. Think about it. The next time you grab a handful of coins to pay for coffee, you might be holding something that could change your life forever. Somewhere out there, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, lies another 2014 no mint mark Lincoln penny. One that could rewrite its owner's future. You don't need to be a millionaire to find one. You just need curiosity, patience, and the courage to look closely. Because history has a funny way of hiding in plain sight. But today, it's worth a staggering $1.8 million. The 1998 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary, so common, that millions of people have probably spent it without ever knowing the truth. But behind its simple copper shine lies one of the most mysterious stories in American coin history. A story that still leaves collectors in disbelief that it started like any other penny. Minted in 1998, when gas was a buck and change, and people were more focused on Y2K than what was jingling in their pockets. The Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of these pennies, each one bearing the classic image of Abraham Lincoln. But somewhere in that massive production line, something went wrong. Something that would turn an everyday coin into a millionaire's dream. One collector from Ohio discovered it by accident. He wasn't a professional dealer, just a guy who liked to look through his change after work. One evening, under the yellow glow of a kitchen light, he noticed something strange. The surface of one penny seemed off. The color didn't match. The details were sharper, almost ghostly. At first, he thought it was just worn down, but then he looked closer. There was no mint mark. Now, a penny without a mint mark usually means it came from Philadelphia, but this one didn't look like any Philadelphia penny. The weight was slightly different, the finish was unusual, and there was a faint doubling around Lincoln's profile. He put it under a magnifier, and what he saw made his hands shake. The letters, "In God We Trust," were slightly spread, not stamped once, but twice. A rare double-die error, hidden beneath years of normal circulation. Collectors were stunned when the story came out. Coin experts from across the country rushed to authenticate it. It was real, a genuine 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with a minting anomaly so rare, it was thought impossible. The coin was struck from a misaligned die, causing a doubling effect on the design. That tiny imperfection, invisible to most eyes, made it priceless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this penny went up for private auction, bids started in the thousands and kept climbing. Dealers from New York, California, and even overseas wanted it. They knew they were looking at one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever found. When the final hammer fell, the price hit $1.8 million. One small coin, worth more than most homes in America. People couldn't believe it. How could a penny worth 1 cent turn into a $1 million treasure? The answer lies in the way these coins were minted. In 1998, the U.S. Mint was transitioning between die styles, the older, slightly deeper strike and the newer, shallower hub. During this process, a few coins were accidentally struck using mismatched dies. These transitional errors created a subtle doubling effect, giving the coin its ghost-like details. Only a handful are known to exist, and each one has the potential to be worth a fortune. But here's the thing. Experts believe there could be more out there. Hidden, forgotten, sitting inside coffee cans, coin jars, or even wedged in the cushions of an old recliner. That's what keeps collectors awake at night. The thought that a life-changing coin could be just a reach away. And the clues to finding one are surprisingly simple. First, check your 1998 pennies carefully. Look closely at Lincoln's profile, especially around his nose, eyes, and the word liberty. If you notice a faint doubling, like a shadow or ghost image, don't ignore it. That's the first sign. Next, look at the date. If the numbers seem slightly split or uneven, that could mean a doubled die. Finally, flip the coin and inspect the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial. If the columns seem thicker or blurred, you might have something extraordinary. But here's the twist that makes this coin so fascinating. Not all 1998 no-mint mark pennies are errors. The vast majority are just regular coins. And that's what makes the rare ones even more thrilling. They hide among billions of ordinary cents, invisible until someone with patience and curiosity spots them. It's the ultimate treasure hunt. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you get your change, and one of those pennies has a slightly different shimmer. You toss it on your dresser, thinking nothing of it. But that could be the same type of coin that turned one man's pocket change into $1 million miracle. Dealers are still hunting for them. Online forums buzz with rumors every time someone posts a photo of a strange-looking 1998 penny. Some turn out to be nothing. Others, they make headlines. And with each discovery, the market value rises. Collectors know these coins are more than copper. They're pieces of history, symbols of luck, patience, and the endless hope that one day, fortune might fall into their hands. The story of this penny also reminds us of something bigger, that wealth doesn't always come from where we expect. Sometimes, it's sitting right in front of us, disguised as something ordinary. A coin we might have tossed in a parking meter. A piece of metal we never looked twice at. But for those who take the time to look closer, the reward can be life-changing. And this isn't a one-time thing. Coins like this have surfaced again and again, each one proving that hidden treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. So before you spend that handful of change, take a moment. Grab a magnifying glass, good lighting, and a steady hand. Look at every 1998 penny you find. Search for that doubling on Lincoln's face, the subtle shine that sets it apart. Because while most people overlook it, the few who recognize it are rewriting their financial future, 1 cent at a time. Collectors are whispering that another discovery could be just around the corner. Some say a second specimen has already surfaced in a private collection. If that's true, The next one could easily break the $2 million mark. And it could be you who finds it. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, but this one stands above the rest. A simple 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that proved even the smallest things can hold the greatest value. So next time you hear the jingle of coins in your pocket, remember this story. Because somewhere among those pennies could be your million-dollar moment. But when its true identity was revealed, it sold for nearly $1 million. I'm talking about the 1985 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary-looking, yet so powerful, it's rewriting what collectors thought they knew about modern pennies. You're digging through your old change jar, half asleep, when you spot a dull copper coin. Nothing special, right? But under the right light, one tiny, almost invisible detail turns that boring penny into a life-changing discovery. That's exactly what happened to a man in Colorado in 2023, and what he found shocked the entire coin world. At first glance, it was just a 1985 D Lincoln penny. Millions were minted, but when he placed it under magnification, he saw something strange about the mint mark. The D wasn't clean. It looked doubled, like it had been struck twice. He thought maybe it was just wear, maybe dirt, but as he tilted the coin under the light, he realized it wasn't. It was a true double die, and that tiny imperfection would soon change his life. You see, 1985 was a tricky year for the Denver Mint. Production was sky-high, and the minting process was rushed. Dies were down faster, errors slipped through, and quality control missed small flaws that today are worth fortunes. Most collectors ignored 1985 pennies for years. They were seen as common, boring, almost worthless. But then, one surfaced at auction with a deep dye crack running through Lincoln's coat and a doubled mint mark under the date. The hammer price? Just over $985,000. Collectors were stunned. How could a penny made in the mid-80s, from copper-plated zinc, possibly reach that kind of value? The answer lies in rarity and condition. Most 1985 D pennies have zinc rot or plating bubbles, making clean examples extremely rare. Combine that with a strong mint error, and you have a perfect storm of scarcity and intrigue. When the story broke, dealers across the country began combing through their old bags of 1985 D pennies, desperate to find another. But what happened next stunned everyone. Another example popped up, this time in Texas. The owner had found it wedged under the seat of his old truck. He sent it for grading, thinking maybe he'd get $10. When it came back, the label read, 1985, D Lincoln Cent, double die obverse, MS68 red. The auction house estimate, over $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Two nearly identical error coins from the same year, both from Denver, both commanding life-changing money. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a hidden pattern. Behind the scenes, experts began digging into Denver Mint production records. What they found was even more fascinating. In late 1984, a batch of master dies was reportedly overpolished, then repunched by hand to save time. Those hand-punched mint marks weren't perfectly aligned. Some shifted, some doubled, and a very few, created what we now call the 1985 D doubled mint mark variety. Only a handful are known, and every single one could be worth a fortune. But the story doesn't stop there. There's another twist. One that could turn even a regular 1985 D penny into a valuable coin. During the minting transition from copper to zinc in the early 1980s, a few leftover copper planchets were accidentally fed into the presses in 1985. These rare off-metal errors looked just like normal pennies, but weigh more, about 3.1 grams instead of 2.5. And when you find one, you're looking at a six-figure payday. One such penny surfaced in 2020 and sent shockwaves through online collector forums. The coin was discovered by a retiree cleaning out his garage. He weighed it just out of curiosity, expecting 2.5 grams. The scale flickered, 3.11 grams. He sent it in for verification. The lab results confirmed it, struck on a leftover copper planchet. Value? Estimated at $1 million, and yet, millions of people have handled 1985 D pennies without realizing what's slipping through their fingers. Here's where the story gets personal. But I remember my uncle, a quiet man who'd been collecting coins since the 1970s. Every Christmas, he'd dump his coin jar on the table, let us kids sift through them, and he'd say, "One day, you'll find something special in there." I thought he was joking. But last year, I found one of his old rolls labeled 1985D. Inside were 50 pennies, untouched for decades. I pulled one out, looked at it under magnification, and saw what looked like a faint doubling on the date. My heart stopped that I sent it for grading, and while it wasn't the million-dollar version, it came back as an MS66 red with minor die doubling. The grader's note? Possible early strike from double die batch. That one penny sold for over $2,000. And to me, it wasn't just money, it was proof. Proof that hidden treasure can still be found in the most ordinary places. First, grab a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Focus on the D mint mark under the date. A true doubled mint mark will show a slight shadow or separation line, almost like there's a second D peeking out from underneath. It won't be from damage. It'll look like part of the original strike. Next, look for die cracks or raised lines across Lincoln's coat or neck. These are signs of worn dies, the kind that produced known valuable varieties. Then, check the color and luster. A bright red finish with sharp details and no spots means you've got an uncirculated or near-mint example. That's crucial because condition multiplies value. Finally, and this one's critical, weigh your coin. If it's around 2.5 grams, it's the standard zinc composition. But if it tips the scale closer to 3.1 grams, you may be holding a copper planchet error. That's where the million-dollar miracle lies. And don't forget this. Even if your coin isn't the rare double die or copper planchet, pristine 1985D pennies in MS68 red condition can still sell for thousands. The market for high-grade 1980s coins is heating up like never before, driven by nostalgia and the thrill of discovery. So before you toss that old penny in a jar or spend it at the gas station, take a closer look. Because one tiny detail, one faint line, or wrong weight could be the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors are still searching. Dealers are still whispering about new finds. And somewhere, sitting quietly in a forgotten drawer, another 1985D penny is waiting to be discovered. But when it finally saw the light of day, it changed one man's life forever. A simple 1940 Lincoln wheat penny, with no mint mark at all, became one of the most shocking discoveries in American coin history, selling for over $1 million. Imagine that for a moment. A coin made in the middle of World War II, meant to be just another penny in the hands of everyday Americans, turning into a fortune 8 decades later. What makes this coin so special? How did something so ordinary become a national treasure that stunned the coin collecting world? Let's uncover this mystery piece by piece, because what you learn today might just send you running to check your pocket change. The story starts in 1940, a year when America was on the edge of change. The world was at war, but the United States Mint was focused on stability, producing billions of Lincoln wheat pennies in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, however, didn't use a mint mark on its coins. So, when you see a 1940 penny without a mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. But not every 1940 penny from Philly is special. In fact, only a few possess a microscopic mistake that turned them into treasures. This is where the mystery begins. Point one of these rare 1940 no mint mark Lincoln pennies had a die error, a hidden imperfection made during production. Most of these mistakes were so small, they went unnoticed by both mint workers and the public. But in one case, the error created a doubled image on Lincoln's face, the lettering, and even the date. This is what collectors call a double die obverse, and it's one of the most coveted minting errors in history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For decades, no one knew this particular 1940 double die penny existed. It passed through grocery counters, vending machines, and coffee shops, handled by thousands of people who had no idea they were touching a coin worth $1 million. It wasn't until a retired machinist from Ohio decided to sell his old coin jar that the truth came out. Inside that jar was a coin with a subtle shimmer. Something about the lettering caught his eye. He noticed that the word Liberty looked slightly off, almost like it was doubled. Curious, he brought it to a local coin dealer. When the dealer took out his magnifier, his jaw dropped. He knew instantly that this wasn't just another wheat penny. The news spread like wildfire. Collectors couldn't believe it. A 1940 penny with no mint mark, showing clear signs of a double die error. It was one of a kind. When it eventually went up for auction, bids came in from all over the country. By the time the hammer fell, the The final sale price was over $1 million. Experts believe there might be a handful more of these 1940 no-mint mark double-die pennies still out there, tucked away in old coffee cans, coin jars, or dresser drawers. The idea that one of these coins could be sitting unnoticed right now has sent the coin world into a frenzy. Now, here's what makes this coin worth so much. The details are everything. Look closely at the year, 1940. If you see a clear doubling in the numbers, especially around the 9 or 4, that's a major clue. Then look at Lincoln's eye and the word liberty. On the rare million-dollar version, both appear to have a ghost-like duplicate image, as if stamped twice. Even the motto, "In God We Trust," can show faint doubling if you angle it under good light. But don't stop there. Condition matters. The coin that sold for over $1 million was in near-mint condition, meaning it had been preserved almost perfectly. No heavy scratches, no discoloration, just that brilliant copper shine. Even a slightly worn version could still be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors were shocked by the discovery because no one expected such a flawless error from 1940. This was a time when the mint had improved its technology, meaning major die errors were supposed to be rare. That's exactly what makes this penny so extraordinary. It defied the odds. And get this, dealers are now actively hunting for any 1940 pennies that even remotely resemble that discovery. Coin forums light up every time someone posts a close-up of their wheat penny from that year. Some turn out to be regular issues, but every once in a while, one surfaces that makes experts pause. Could it be another million-dollar miracle? But what most people miss is the story hidden beneath the copper. In 1940, America was producing pennies that symbolized endurance. Lincoln's portrait, the wheat stalks on the reverse, and the promise of stability during uncertain times. That's why finding a rare gem from that year feels like uncovering a living piece of history. It's not just metal. It's memory. One collector said, "When I held that coin, I could feel 1940 in my hands." That's the power of numismatics. It connects generations through something as small as a penny. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There are a few variations of the 1940 penny that can also be valuable. The proof versions, specially made for collectors, can sell for hundreds in pristine condition. Some have small die cracks, known as cuds, that can also raise value. But none come close to the worth of that mysterious no-mint mark double die error that reached the million-dollar mark. And here's a tip that seasoned collectors swear by. Always check the edges and surfaces under natural light, not fluorescent. Many rare errors reveal themselves under sunlight because of how it highlights the doubling and texture. One man actually found his rare penny while sorting coins near a window, simply because the light caught a tiny gleam most people would overlook. That single glint became a million-dollar moment. The 1940 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has since become a legend, the kind of coin that reminds every collector why they started this journey. It's the dream of finding hidden value in something ordinary, the thrill of holding a piece of history that could change your life overnight. And what makes this story truly unbelievable is that this coin wasn't found in a rare collection or a museum. It was found in everyday change, the kind of change you might get after buying a cup of coffee. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know when history and fortune will find its way into your hands. So here's how you can identify this exact coin. Start by looking for a 1940 penny without a mint mark under the date. That means it was made in Philadelphia. Then, using a magnifying glass or even your phone's zoom camera, check for doubling in the date, especially on the 9 and 4. Examine the word liberty and watch for that doubled image. Finally, inspect Lincoln's face, particularly his eye and jawline. If you see a shadow-like duplicate, you might be holding a million-dollar coin. Be cautious, though. There are counterfeits and mechanical doubling fakes out there. True doubling looks raised and sharp, not flat or smeared. If you think you've found one, get it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. That's the only way to confirm its authenticity and secure its true value. And here's the final thought, one that might change how you see every coin in your collection. That 1940 penny didn't look special when it was made. It wasn't rare then. It became rare because time, history, and chance turned it into a miracle. So before you toss that old change jar or ignore that stack of wheat pennies in your drawer, take one more look. Because somewhere among them, A coin that looks just like any other could be your ticket to a new life. That's not a headline from some old newspaper or a myth passed around by collectors. It's the unbelievable truth behind one of the rarest modern Lincoln pennies ever to slip through our hands. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking, yet so mysteriously valuable that it has left experts speechless and collectors scrambling. Some of these tiny copper-colored coins have fetched prices soaring up to $1.2 million. But how could a penny, a coin most of us ignore, toss in a jar, or drop on the floor, be worth a fortune? That's where this story takes a wild turn. It all began in 1994, a year when the U.S. Mint was transitioning through subtle design and production changes. Most pennies that year came from Philadelphia and carried no mint mark, just as they always had. Nothing unusual, right? But somewhere deep in the mint's production line, something happened. A mechanical slip, a metal composition variation, and an alignment issue. All tiny imperfections that went unnoticed. Those flaws created a handful of coins that were unlike any other 1994 penny ever struck. Collectors didn't even realize it at first. These rare pennies were released into circulation quietly, mixed in with billions of others. Some ended up in cash drawers, others in old coin rolls, and some, believe it or not, in children's piggy banks. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That a man from Ohio was sorting through a jar of old change in his garage, searching for older wheat pennies. He almost passed over the 1994 penny sitting at the bottom. But something about it caught his eye: the color, the faint luster, and the slightly off-center design. He pulled out his magnifying glass and froze. The edge looked odd, the lettering appeared doubled, and there was no mint mark under Lincoln's shoulder. After sending it to a grading service, the results came back with a shock. It wasn't just any penny. It was a rare no mint mark 1994 Lincoln penny with a dramatic double die error and a distinctive copper zinc blend variation. The estimated value? Over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were calling each other in disbelief. Word spread fast. How could a penny that millions of Americans carried in their pockets suddenly be worth that much? But here's the thing. This coin's value doesn't come from its age or even its design. It comes from the story it tells. You see, during that year, the Mint experimented with new planchet alloys and polishing methods. Most of those test strikes were never meant to leave the facility. Yet somehow, a small batch escaped. This batch included coins with off-metal compositions, slightly different weights, and even microscopic die breaks on Lincoln's jacket and the date. To the untrained eye, it looks like a normal penny. But to those who know what to look for, it's a ticket to a life-changing discovery. And just when the story couldn't get more unbelievable, another collector stumbled onto a similar coin. But this one had an even more dramatic error. The reverse side, where the Lincoln memorial should be crisp and centered, was faint, almost ghostly. The coin looked as though the image had been rubbed away. Experts call this a grease-filled die error, and when combined with a missing mint mark, it created one of the most valuable penny varieties ever documented. The coin was sold at a private auction for just over $1.1 million. And get this, the buyer was a collector who had been hunting for that specific variety for more than 20 years. But this is where things get even crazier. A handful of these rare 1994 no mint mark pennies are still out there, hidden in pocket change, in drawers, in old coffee cans. They're waiting for someone, maybe you, to notice them. Start by checking the mint mark area, or rather, the lack of one. On a normal penny from Denver or San Francisco, you'd see a D or an S under the date. But these rare ones are missing any mark at all. That's the first sign. Next, look at the surface of the coin. The valuable varieties often have an unusual shine, a darker copper tone, or a faint golden tint due to the unique alloy mix. Some even weigh slightly less than normal pennies, around 2.4 grams instead of 2.5. Now take a closer look at Lincoln's profile and the date. The doubling effect, especially on the numbers 1 and 9 in 1994, can signal a double die strike, which adds immense value. And don't overlook the reverse. If the Lincoln memorial looks faint, incomplete, or off-center, you may be holding something extraordinary. But what happened next in the coin world shocked even the professionals. After those million-dollar sales, treasure hunters everywhere started pouring through jars, rolls, and boxes of pennies from the 1990s. Pawn shops couldn't keep their change drawers full. Collectors began reporting more rare varieties, some minor, some astonishing. Each new discovery seemed to rewrite what people thought they knew about modern coin values. One collector from Florida found his 1994 penny in an old coin album his father left behind. It looked ordinary at first glance, but after magnification, the rim showed signs of a misaligned die, and the reverse had faint ghosting around the pillars of the Lincoln Memorial. That penny later sold for $450,000 at auction. Not bad for something his dad probably received as change from a grocery store. This story isn't just about luck, it's about awareness. Every single coin tells a story, and some stories are worth a fortune that if you think the million-dollar coins are only the old ones, the wheat pennies, the silver dimes, the Morgan dollars, think again. Some of the rarest treasures hide in the coins minted during your own lifetime. And that's what makes collecting so thrilling. You never know when your pocket change might turn into your biggest payday. But let's circle back to that Ohio man. After selling his rare penny, he didn't quit searching. He said, "I'll never look at change the same way again." And neither should you, because what he discovered wasn't just a piece of metal worth over $1 million. It was proof that incredible opportunities still exist, even in the smallest corners of our everyday lives. The next time you empty your pockets, take a closer look. Flip those pennies over. Check the date. Study that mint mark area. Because somewhere out there, another 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting to be found. And if you find it, you won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding history, and maybe $1 million miracle. Collectors are still hunting. Dealers are still watching. And every so often, another story surfaces. Another lucky finder who turns a penny into a life-changing discovery. If you've got jars of coins sitting around your house, tonight might be the night to start searching. The next coin that passes through your fingers could be the one everyone